Are we ready, gentlemen?
We're ready.
Welcome to Power Play Sports. And here is the show for this evening for Thoughts Count Anywhere. I'm Scott Hosey, filling in for Aaron. And we have our hosts over here. We have Matthew.
Hey, what's up, guys?
And Johnny Rock.
Hey, what's going on? It's been an
Johnny?
interesting week.
So, gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about.
Oh, God.
So much that I don't think we can fit in an hour, or in our case, Johnny time.
Oh, nice. I'll keep my rants.
If you haven't figured it out, I'm the heel, he's the face, and Matt will just be...
I'll keep my ranting to a minimum, though. It's, oh, man, it's been an eventful week in wrestling, but also a very frustrating, head-scratching, bang your head into concrete week.
Absolutely, and we want to give a shout-out to Aaron, who's not going to be here this week. Celebrate your Jewish holiday.
Yes.
Enjoy your time, Aaron.
Have fun.
Yep,
Is
absolutely.
it Yom Kippur this week, or is it Rosh Hashanah this week?
I honestly don't know. I'm not of that faith, but I respect
I know one's the
everybody's
happy
faith.
holiday and one's the sad holiday.
Let's just all be happy.
Hopefully
Yes.
it's a happy one.
Hopefully it's a happy holiday.
So why don't we start off with the rumors, and I hear voices. First rumor, Edge. Edge is returning? What's the scoop, Johnny?
Well, apparently Edge has been medically cleared. He's been back in training. He's even given up his duties on his podcast with Christian, the very popular Edge and Christian podcast of Austin.
Just want to say hello.
So, how's it going?
Hello there, sir.
So I personally am really excited about this because he is back in training. He was always one of my favorite wrestlers. He did come in and do that, amazing spear on Elias a few weeks ago, and he looked great doing it. He threw his whole body into that, so there were rumors starting then that he might be back, which, again, I can't complain about this because he was always one of my favorites, and I feel like his career was tragically cut way too short.
Absolutely.
He's even spotted in Pittsburgh the other day where you go to get cleared for WWE medical. That kind of added like real fire to the rumors.
Well, that and, you got the Saudi show coming up, and they love pulling in a lot of the Attitude Era veterans, new generation era veterans.
I hope the rumors are true. I'd love to see the Rated R Superstar come back.
I'd love to see him get a run, especially against some of the younger talent we have going on right now. Like, if you could book a dream match with Edge and somebody in the company right now, who's your second?
Hulk Hogan.
No.
That's a rumor. That's a rumor for later.
God, that's a terrible rumor.
His boyhood idol.
I want to see him versus Ricochet, honestly.
Now, but do you think he can still go with Ricochet? No.
Hardly anybody can go with Ricochet, honestly. But even he said on the podcast he wants to wrestle. It was like, what did Ed say? Him, Seth Rollins, and I think AJ were like on the top of his list.
I think AJ Styles and Seth Rollins would both be really good dream matches for Edge.
Yeah.
It's just from a storytelling, because, all of these guys are very talented in the ring. They obviously can go. But Rollins is really good at telling a story when he's given the chance to.
Yeah.
Touch on that later. Hell in Cell is hot garbage. But, the AJ Styles versus Edge, to me, would be the ultimate dream match. That would be a WrestleMania put butts in seats match.
Yeah.
That would put my butts in to see that match.
Well, talking about dream matches, Hulk Hogan has decided the rumor is he wants one more match. Personally, give it up. I'll be honest, I'm a huge Ric Flair mark.
Okay.
Not the short hair Ric Flair, the comic book character that we have now, but the old Georgia Championship Wrestling, NWA World Champion.
The Nature Boy.
The true Nature Boy.
Yeah.
When Class was put on the title because of styling and profiling and being the man, you got to beat the man. And, even seeing him at his retirement match with Shawn Michaels and then subsequent matches in Impact, I never want to see that because an idol that I had growing up being a fan of pro wrestling, it doesn't work. It's blown out. It's like watching Willie Mays with the Mets, later in his career.
Yeah.
And I mean, we saw what Undertaker give it up. Who are we kidding?
Yeah.
Granted, the Saudi Prince wants to see these stars, but it's not going to make for a good match. I don't care if Flair and Hogan get in the ring during this.
If they do it at a Saudi show, fine. Those are glorified house shows anyway.
Absolutely.
They're for the benefit of the Saudi Prince, and Vince can sit back in his easy chair counting his money. I'm fine with that. If he wants to take Saudi money to put on crap shows, that's between him and the Saudi government. don't work it into storyline. Don't work it into, especially if Hogan wants to come back for WrestleMania, make it a 5-second squash against Brock Lesnar. Like, seriously, I don't care who wins at that point. Like, if Hogan wants one more last ride at WrestleMania, let him have it. Don't make it a big deal, though, because...
Well, you've got the teams and the team captains being Flair and Hogan. The most I want to see out of the entire thing is maybe a little pushing and shoving, maybe a leg drop, maybe a woo, but actually getting in the ring, being part of it.
Yeah.
No, let's stay away from that. Let the kids, as we'll call it, have their time.
How do you build new stars? Stop putting so much focus on the old ones.
Sure.
I like passing the torch matches. Those I'm fine with. Like, when Rock and Cena, I thought that was very well done the first time. The second time, no. But the build up to the first Cena Rock match, they build it as a generational match. They built it as, passing the torch. And I felt it was very, very well handled. Rock was able to basically give Cena the rub at a time when Cena was kind of transitioning into his dominant Super Cena mode. I would like to see some of these older generation stars. We give Baron Corbin a lot of crap for retiring Kurt Angle.
All hail King Corbin.
But Kurt Angle did Baron Corbin one of the greatest favors a wrestler can possibly do. He went out on his back to put over a young talent.
That's how they should go out, honestly.
Say what you want about Baron Corbin, the more I've seen how they're using him, I feel like they're using him smartly. And he is a major mega heel right now. And if you hate Baron Corbin, if you hate his character, if you hate the way he's booked,
he's doing his
his
right.
freaking job.
Well, when we talk about that, if you think about it, the best, in my opinion, the best wrestler that passes the torch happens to not be in WWE right now, but he happens to be a champion.
Oh, well, Chris Jericho?
Chris Jericho.
Chris Jericho is the most generous man in professional wrestling.
And he is giving up a lifetime contract with WWE currently to bring on this upstart organization, and that's passing a torch in a sense.
It is, and it's classic Jericho, and the way Jericho puts people over has become a meme, a legend of its own. Because even at the premiere of AEW Dynamite last week, I saw somebody in the crowd holding up a Fandango sign. And if you remember, in Fandango's first official match, Jericho put him over.
Absolutely.
At Wrestle freaking Mania.
Well, Matt, do you think Hogan is going to have this one match? Do you think Vince will, other than the Saudi show or something of that nature, do you think Vince is going to have him come back for one match after they've seen the debacle of Goldberg and Undertaker?
Just because of his last match being in TNA, I think once he has his back surgery, if he's in good enough shape, I think they'll honestly do it. I don't want them to, but it'll probably happen.
I mean, he's got 2 moves anyway.
I couldn't imagine how this is going to go or what's going to happen.
And who would that match be against, you think? Because he's not going to pass a torch. That's not going to happen. It's not.
I'd like to see against like Randy Orton, because it would be like do his couple moves, hit an RKO, and get him out of there quickly.
Randy Orton could kill the legend of Hogan.
Bring back the legend killer for 1 night.
That to this day has always been my favorite Randy Orton.
How about Eric Bischoff?
He's back and better than ever.
Back in WWE's good side.
Something to think about. He brought out the best in the new Hulk Hogan, the heel. Maybe he buries him.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
That could be something.
Having Bischoff break out the karate gi, getting the crane kick.
But then what would Shane McMahon do? Hire himself to.
Oh, poor Shano.
Yes.
Well, let's find a job now.
Absolutely. Since we're transitioning into WWE, let's talk about WWE. And we'll save Hell in a Cell for later, because obviously we got a lot to talk about.
Let's start at the beginning of the week when we record last Wednesday. So let's start with NXT, because NXT delivered again a solid effort. We had the big AEW versus NXT, the thing to kick off the Wednesday.
Let's stay on the NXT, because we'll talk AEW a little bit.
All I want to say is, AEW may have won the ratings war last Wednesday, but in my opinion, NXT was the superior product.
I agree with you.
By a mile.
The matches were great on both shows. Match quality was tip-top. Best matches I saw all week were last Wednesday.
What about SmackDown? The huge Fox premiere.
We'll get to that in a minute. I did want to highlight just how amazing the matches on NXT were.
Okay.
There were no title changes, unfortunately, but it left you thinking there was going to be. Like, I really thought Candice LeRae was going to dethrone Shayna Baszler. I really did. Because I thought Shayna would be tagged to move to Fox.
Okay.
You know-
Doesn't mean the draft is coming. So.
No, the draft is coming, but I don't see them drafting a lot of champions away from their own show, especially when they're brand-specific champions.
Now, when we're talking NXT, and we'll stay on that topic, what's the biggest thing that happened at NXT?
Huh?
Huh?
Oh, Finn Balor returning?
What?
Or
Coming
Tommaso,
home?
Tommaso Ciampa returning?
I would say for the hardcore wrestling fan, yeah. But for the general wrestling fan, Finn Balor going back to NXT is a huge coup.
It's a huge coup. I'm not 100% on board.
Why?
Just, Finn Balor's the longest reigning NXT champion.
True. Came home.
He did come home. But I almost feel like it's a demotion. And I know NXT's its own brand right now, but you gave Finn Balor this monster push, and unfortunately was derailed by injury. Like his first steps on the main roster on Raw, you give him the Universal title for a day, and he never even had a real honest-to-God chance of reclaiming that. And I don't want to see him win the NXT Championship again. He's already done it, and he's the longest reigning NXT champion.
But it would bring up ratings against some competition that they have.
It would, but I feel like Adam Cole is carrying that. The Undisputed Era are so overrated.
I'd rather see him on NXT because what were they doing with him on SmackDown? He was on there like, what, once a month maybe?
I want Finn Balor to get a major title run.
The only way he's going to do that's through NXT, honestly. You want to see a major title run, he'd be NXT champion.
I wouldn't mind seeing a Balor Rollins feud, an actual program, not just a SummerSlam tournament deal.
But I think
one-shot
what
match.
Matt's saying has some credibility.
It does.
You have a Cole Balor back and forth for months if they play it right.
That sounds like a better feud than anything you can have on the main roster.
It sounds like an amazing feud, but in the end, as much as I love Finn Balor and I've been Team Fergal since day one, I don't want Adam Cole to lose his title.
Would you want to see him move too?
You know, Matt Riddle's out there. I think Matt Riddle could eventually dethrone him.
I don't think Matt has the character to carry the promotion.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
No. He doesn't have the namesake right now. Personally, and you and I have gone back and forth about this, put butts in seats, advertising. I don't see him selling a lot of T-shirts to generate that. Adam Cole is marketable.
I will say one thing. Ciampa.
Okay.
Ciampa is so over with the NXT crowd, and it seems like a lot of that NXT crowd transitioned over to the USA audience. NXT's been consistent. It's been highly consistent, and you look at the landscape of the crowd. Even on main roster shows, on a Raw crowd or a SmackDown show, there are a lot of Tommaso Ciampa shirts out there.
Sure.
He's very insidious.
I wonder what they're going to do with his return though, because when he left, he was like the most hated person in all of wrestling.
But then he
And
comes
then
out
he got like
raises,
the biggest pop of the night.
well, then he comes out and he raises Gargano's arm when Gargano wins. I'm like, well, there's the end of kayfabe right there.
Man.
But
I want to give a quick shout out to Thomas, who's here every week with us online.
Hi, Thomas.
Thanks for joining us. And he agrees that NXT was a much better show. Production-wise, for those, spoiler alert, I have seen the AWE show. They have fixed their production problems. I don't know, I didn't see the exact beginning of the pyro, but yeah.
I just got off work on my day job, so I haven't had a chance to watch any of today's shows.
So Mick Foley won the... Oh, never mind. We love giving spoilers.
Speaking of Bischoff,
So let's transition, because we've talked about NXT enough, and we still got a huge, with the exception of Impact.
Tessa Blanchard.
Tessa Blanchard wrestled and is the only people keeping that ratings there.
Impact's covered.
Yeah, Impact's covered. We can skip that later on in the show, people.
I think Brian Cage got mad at somebody.
Yeah. Good old Brian Cage.
Sunset Station.
Yeah, Sunset Station.
We'll never
Long
forget.
story. If anybody wants to talk about it, come see me at any of my events. I will tell you the Brian Cage story. Anyway, SmackDown. Probably the most electrifying opening promotion, new network that I've ever seen.
It was great up until the last 15 minutes.
Why?
Kofi deserved better.
Yeah, we had that conversation prior to this, and you have some merits, you know.
Here's the thing. I get you want to put the title on Brock. I get that Fox wants a name to have the title. I have no problem with that decision at all.
Don't forget, you know, they do have tied to UFC,
So I'm going to put on my booking hat for a minute and do Johnny Rocks how they should have booked it. Okay? Don't go into the main event with less than
3 minutes left.
With 3 minutes left, because we all know what's coming at that point. This is what you do. I understand you want Brock to win the title. I also understand you want Cain Velasquez to make an impact. So what do? You start the match, have Brock and Kofi wrestle for a little bit, and then have Cain and Rey Mysterio come in and break up the match. It's no contest. You have Brock versus Kofi at Hell in the Cell, and give them the time they need to actually put on a real match. I have no problem with Brock ending Kofi Mania. I don't have a problem with that at all. But Kofi, after that historic run he had, deserved a fighting chance. He deserved to go out like an underdog.
You have a comment now?
I
was kind of irritated that like Lesnar won the belt just because he shows up every 4 months maybe.
Well, that's part of his contract. He has a limited amount of time on each show. And
well, why put the belt on him if he's not going to show up?
Because unfortunately, Fox will control that show, and I don't care what anybody says out there. You can be a wrestling fan, a wrestling mark, a promoter. Fox's pocketbook is endless.
Like I said, my problem's not the end result.
Right.
It's not Z.
It's how they got from A to Z.
It's how they got from A to Z.
Absolutely.
It would have been like a 20-minute match. I don't think anybody would have cared.
Yeah, but the fact that literally Kofi didn't even get any. He literally ran across the ring and jumped on Brock's shoulders.
Well, don't forget earlier in the when Cain came out, Cain Velasquez. Just for clarification for people who are just checking in or hasn't seen not Cain.
It's gotta be Cain.
But realistically, he came in as a monster. Yeah. So you want two monsters. So especially with how Brock exited the ring, immediately the scared look. You want monster versus monster.
So jump Brock on the ramp before he even gets to the ring.
Oh, I agree.
No contest. You actually have Kofi lose his belt in Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Very valid points. Very valid.
Not
points.
5 seconds
into the match.
I remember when I was watching SmackDown, I lost track of time, and I was like, main event hasn't come on yet. And I looked at the time and realized there's 7 minutes left in the show.
To me, all the karma.
Oh God, no!
And I don't want to just dump on the SmackDown for me because to me it was like a pay-per-view quality level of show. I mean, all of the matches leading up to that point were great. You had the Horsewomen versus the Horsewomen.
True.
That was a solid match.
Absolutely.
The Rock and Becky Lynch teaming up.
Amazing.
Oh my God, that is probably one of the best segments in the last 10 years.
I was going to mention that. How many people think that was the best part, and that should actually close the show in my opinion?
That and the ladder match were the best parts of the show for me.
I hope the STD chant actually sticks.
Oh, it did. They were chanting STD on Raw. They were chanting it on Raw.
He's a super tough dude.
He is super tough dude. But yeah, no, the opening segment with Rock and Becky and Corbin sold that whole situation like a champ.
Absolutely. For those who don't like Corbin, and I'm not a huge Corbin fan, he is, like you said earlier, he is the Jericho now of WWE. He's passing the torch, getting the torch, and he's the transitional guy that doesn't need a belt right now. No. But he does need to be Burger King.
No, that Jerry Lawler will always be the Burger King.
Yes. Good old Jerry. And speaking of Jerry, his commentary, absolutely. I do miss him and JR together.
Yeah.
And even if Shivani could have worked, an AEW draft maybe.
Yeah.
But realistically, having Jerry there is carrying the commentary for that show.
It
because,
is.
with Raw this past week, there was a number of spots that the ladies missed, and Jerry jumped right in and covered it. And
I'm
the
not
other
sold.
two guys didn't.
Vic Joseph has a lot of potential.
Dio
Madden, they just cut that guy out.
But you were a big fan of him last week.
Not Dio Madden. I like Vic Joseph.
Okay.
But at the same time,
I just don't think they have the karma together.
No, they don't click. But Jerry is the
Jerry's
MVP.
Yeah, he's carrying that show. Now,
But to me, Mauro Ranallo is the best play-by-play guy in WWE.
Now let's continue
In
on
wrestling.
with the whole thing with SmackDown going into this week since it's here in Las Vegas.
Well-
and we'll talk about Hell in a Cell.
Okay.
So,
Hell in
but-
a Cell?
Yeah, Hell in a Cell.
It stunk.
It did. But the draft. Does anybody really care about the draft anymore?
I do, but not
Why?
but not for SmackDown.
But not for SmackDown.
I want to see, because we already know a lot of the big names are going to SmackDown. I want to see who they leave left over for Raw and NXT. I want to see if William Regal gets his own podium. I want to see if NXT is included in the draft.
I'm just a firm believer that who cares what show you're on? Go back to one belt, have a champion, not a Brock, because obviously you want to appear on both shows, and just do like the old days, when you had Nitro and Thunder, and the champion would bounce back and forth if necessary. That WWE, you had Saturday main event, number of shows, and the champion every now and then would show up, but you knew who the champion was. It wasn't this switch back.
Because they always do promos.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree with that, but I disagree because
Sure.
Right now, there's so
Like-
much talent.
I want Raw. Like, I don't want separate brands, but I do because it gives more people a chance. Because if everybody's on both shows, both shows are going to be flooded with Seth Rollins, Brock, all the usual suspects. All these minor guys won't even get a chance.
And-
So
and-
having
But
two
isn't
rosters.
that why they went to 3 hours on Raw, though?
No, they went to 3 hours on Raw because they wanted longer matches because it was so segment heavy that the matches were only
But
getting.
they've gotten away from that. They did that for about the first 3 months, and that was it. And they have time to bring up the talent. And,
Yeah.
and going to the talent of how they swap back and forth, maybe the wrestlers should look at themselves and try a little harder on their promos and build their own characters.
If they're allowed to. If they're allowed to. Now, here's the thing. This draft I'm actually excited for more than previous drafts. One, because we're actually going to be there, Matt.
Oh, yeah,
We're
I'll
going to
be
see
there.
this thing live.
Matt, are you going to be texting me, Matt, during this whole thing, giving me updates? 'Cause I will be driving to Southern California.
We'll put it in the group chat.
Okay, good.
Oh, put it
If you
in
want
the group
spoilers,
chat.
we'll put it in the group chat.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you know what? Then I'll put it on our webpage or Facebook page, and then all of you, if you miss SmackDown draft, can see the spoilers.
Yeah, we'll put a spoiler thread. We'll label it spoiler thread. If you're interested, go on the Thoughts Count.
And Jason, thank you for jumping in also. And yes, we know we're doing a little, let's call it the hodgepodge of equipment today. So yes, Jason, there is a little bit of an echo, and I want to apologize to our
Yeah.
listeners. Aaron, unfortunately, has the equipment with him. He's probably doing some bar mitzvah
And-
celebration somewhere with it.
And mine's in the shop right now. So.
But we are working that situation, so in the future we won't have this problem. But we didn't want to miss this week with so much going on.
Yeah.
So once again, thanks, Jason, for listening, and we appreciate the comments. And continue on, Matt, with
You got a different
the draft.
audio recorder, so listen later for the audio podcast. I'm sure it's going to sound better than this Facebook live video.
And Jason will be listening with one of his 100 belts all over the place.
And we can't rag on Jason so much. He did get us a pretty sweet hookup for Friday
Absolutely,
night.
Jason.
So,
we do
thank you,
appreciate
sir.
Yeah.
You're the real MVP.
Shout out to Jason. Anyway, SmackDown. Keep filling us in, Matt. What do you think? What's going to be the major spoiler? Well, it's kind of a rumors thing, but what is going to make Fox happy besides the big names?
What's going to make them happy? Besides, what do you mean? Big names?
Yeah, I mean, they've got to come up with that one wow factor. Is it Brock? Maybe Brock not being on SmackDown?
I think Brock's definitely going to SmackDown.
Or
They made that pretty evident.
But
in
wait
the
a second.
premiere.
You earlier said Seth and Becky.
Seth and Becky
What
are
would happen if,
definitely going.
boom, Seth and Becky go to SmackDown and they swap the belts back?
I can see that.
You got to think outside the box because that's what Vince does.
Yeah.
The element of surprise. And needless to say, he's got Paul Heyman there, who is a master at that, and Eric Bischoff, who likes controversy anyway.
I see.
Oh, yeah.
I see AJ Styles and Gallows and Anderson going to SmackDown.
I think they're breaking up, honestly.
I don't. They just made T-shirts and gave them their own.
Yeah, they're selling merch.
Yeah,
right?
they're selling merch. They just got their own
AJ.
new. They got their new Titantron theme song.
I want my gloves.
His belt may be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that being
Available at Power Play.
yeah, and I appreciate it. I don't even have to do my own commercials now. Now, let's transition into the weekend.
Oh.
Hell in the Cell. First of all, the red light was a little much for me. I would prefer not to have
It was
the red
cool
light.
at first, but it got
It old.
It
I
was
think
cool for like 30
the
seconds.
intro would have been
I felt like I was playing a Virtual Boy by the end of the match. Do you remember the Virtual Boy?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that thing was like neck traction waiting to happen.
So before we get to the main event and the controversy, and I know everybody talks about the controversy, Sasha Banks' injury, real work.
I think it's a work.
Okay.
As hard as they were working in that match, that could be real.
It could be real, but I also think I think they're playing up the severity of it. I think she might be a little banged up, might be a little bruised, had to take a week or two off. I don't think it's going to keep her out of action for a long time. I think she's going to be good for Survivor Series and Crown Jewel. Well, they don't let the women wrestle at Crown Jewel do that.
And her best friend Bailey, Matt.
Thank God the belt's off her.
And what was the ending? What was the purpose of that? Where she's distraught, no one
Well,
loves her. She was going to go out back and eat worms.
Well, if you notice, Sasha threw a little bit of a hissy at the head of her match too.
Huge heel tag team push against.
I can't stand either of them. I hope they lose everything.
That was that to me.
You were a big Sasha Banks fan.
Tell them I met her.
Say what you want about the main
Whoa.
event. To me, the real crime of Hell in the Cell is that Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross are no longer your women's tag champs. That makes me so sad.
Do I need to get you tissues?
Yes.
Okay.
An entire box.
An entire box.
And I want a blankie.
That's another probably one for SmackDown. Alexa Bliss is going to SmackDown.
Yeah.
I'll call that one right
Yeah.
now.
I really
You
hope they
got
don't.
the eye candy there.
I really don't hope that they split those two up, though. I don't think Nikki needs the support of Alexa, but they're
I don't think that. I don't
they're
think,
so enjoyable together.
But I don't think Alexa. I think Alexa is past her medical conditions with the concussions and that, and I think a major title run is in the works for her again because she would play very well with Charlotte or with Becky.
Yes.
And as much as you love her, I've seen her without makeup.
She's still gorgeous.
She is a gorgeous.
I've seen her
lady.
without makeup too.
I
Never
think
mind.
Nikki needs Alexa. Alexa doesn't need Nikki.
Yeah.
So for Nikki's sake, she better hope she's on the same brand.
Absolutely, because I don't see that character working very long term.
Well, I miss Nikki's old character. I miss Crazy Sanity Nikki.
Yeah.
I miss,
I just flash back to WCW.
Rabbit Wombat Nikki Cross.
So, continuing on with Hell in the Cell, the controversy. Let's just jump right in. Now, the controversy of the end. 2 years in a row. I'm a firm believer Vince did it on purpose, obviously.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And I think he wanted the controversy because for 2 days, 3 days, even Wednesday, we're still talking about the end of the match.
But it's not good talk.
But it's talk. It's talk. And people have stopped talking about,
No one's talking about
AEW until tonight.
Not necessarily. You get people. Okay, here's the thing. Bad press is better than no press.
Absolutely.
But it's still bad press. And when you, so for 24 to 48 hours after Hell in a Cell, my Twitter feed was just people canceling their network subscriptions left and right.
I think that's a huge work.
No, that's a word.
That's a work. No one, a wrestling fan is not going to cancel his WWE subscription and lose, the next pay-per-view. I honestly believe-
Crown Jewel.
The keyboard warriors were out in full.
Yeah.
Oh, they were so. Oh man, everybody's hating them.
I mean, seriously, out of 100% of wrestling fans that said they canceled their subscription, I would say about 5% are telling the truth.
Yeah.
And wrestling something not being real? Okay, never mind. Well, with that being said, the end. Vince obviously wrote it. It didn't go over real well. I think it went over great in the sense of everybody's pissed off. When did Vince hit his heyday? When they had WCW and he was losing the ratings war, and then all of a sudden, bam, they rocket shipped right to the top. So, they're at the top. No one's going to doubt that. But if you bring yourself down and let AEW come up, bam, you get them again.
Yeah.
And so Vince I honestly think that's the case.
So you're basically postulating here that Vince McMahon is intentionally shooting himself in the foot.
Oh, absolutely. Because he wants the controversy. What sells more than controversy? Why do you think you have CNN and Fox? It's controversy. And Vince right now, for the last 10 years, hasn't had any competition. I don't care what anybody says about Impact or Ring of Honor. He has had zero competition. He's been bored. He bought the XFL again because he had nothing else better
So
to
he's
do.
tanking his own ratings and he's tanking his own attendance.
I don't think he's tanking his own attendance. His attendance for live shows has been down for years. Unless you go to a WrestleMania. Like I told our listeners and you guys know, a few weeks ago I was at Raw in Knoxville, Tennessee, and there wasn't 3,500 people in that arena. And it was sad because they were giving away tickets outside. Great. The lady stole the show again. But needless to say, wrestling fans are wrestling fans. They only have so much money. You have a huge amount of competition out there. Before the show, we shared Blue Meanie's post. For those who don't have it, Facebook, Brian Heffron, Blue Meanie, had a week schedule of all the wrestling every day. I wouldn't have time to go to work. Not even, none of us. I mean, but I honestly think
I watch it when I can.
I think he's taking his ratings. So, Matt, fill us in for the listeners who haven't watched Hell in a Cell, spoil it for them, on what this controversy is that is just taking the internet and social media by storm.
The whole match was, you would have thought Seth Rollins the biggest heel in the world. Anytime he even touched the Fiend, people were losing their mind. So basically,
the Fiend was definitely over in the match.
The Fiend was by far over. And Seth Rollins hit 6 stomps. Then he put a ladder, a chair,
toolbox,
and then the ref, he grabbed his sledgehammer. Oh yeah, he grabbed that big old mallet and hit the stomp on that.
I was waiting for Alexa Bliss to come out with the whole
Harley Quinn thing.
Looking like Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
That would have been amazing.
Yeah.
Actually, I heard a rumor. I know we've already passed I Hear Voices, but I heard a rumor that repackaging Liv Morgan
as the Harley Quinn.
to pair her up with the Fiend.
Yeah.
My friend actually did meet her last week and got her autograph, and she said she couldn't take pictures because she already changed her look. And
that's true.
Is she living life?
Yeah, she's living her life.
Well,
but then Seth grabbed a sledgehammer from under the ring, and the referee's like, "Don't do it, don't do it," and he hit him with it anyway. So the referee called for the bell. So we don't know if it was a DQ, which you can't really get DQ'd.
I was gonna say, how do you? This is the end-all, be-all match. This is the final boss matchup.
Yeah.
This is you don't go into Hell in a Cell unless you've got serious issues to work out, and it is no holds barred. It is no DQ. It is nothing can end this match other than a decisive.
They didn't really have a
and for
big
2
thing
years,
except
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row, we've had non-finishes in the main event of Hell in a Cell.
it's insane.
So I'm going to throw something else at you, being devil's advocate that I am with the heel. Does anything ever make sense in pro wrestling? How many times, God bless him, friend of mine, how many times has Terry Funk had a retirement match? How many times
One
does
for each promotion.
a loser leave wrestling, or I'm fired, I quit, any kind of those matches?
They're back next week.
Absolutely.
They also say never say never.
Never say never. And when you say that, we never heard the rules. Where have we ever heard the rules of Hell in a Cell? We all assume, but never was there any rules
Okay.
spelled out. I understand. It's
The
was all
Undertaker
doesn't.
threw Mick Foley off the top of the cell through an announce table, and then subsequently threw him through the top of the cell.
And then he came back on his own because the cage was going up. I watched the match the other night.
Okay. But what I'm saying is, after he threw him through the top of the cell,
And a tooth came out.
and a tooth came out of his nose, Foley still got it. They didn't call for the match.
But
But
that
they
doesn't
were-
cause a referee stoppage.
But
That's
they,
a little sledgehammer.
they took him out of the arena. JR said the match was over.
Yeah.
And they raised, because Undertaker was still on top of the
Yeah.
thing, and they were raising it, and then Foley came back. So the rules have really never been explained. I mean,
The point is, if the referee didn't call the match a medical DQ or a you're going too far DQ at that point, that set the precedent. What Seth Rollins did to the Fiend at that point was still small potatoes. I mean, hell, do you remember when Triple H put Cactus Jack at the top of the cell through the damn ring mat? You know, I mean, again, the precedent is up here, and they didn't even come close to it.
And we've started some controversy even on the chat line. Ray, I understand Ray made the comment. They said officially no contest. But what's no contest when you haven't given the rules?
Well, and furthermore, I mean, come on, like
WWE booking.
Bray literally like jumped off that stretcher and like hit Seth Rollins in the mandible claw. Like clearly, he still had some fight in him.
Absolutely.
What?
What it does is it just spent the last 5 minutes of us going back and forth and talking about it.
I think
He's
that's
a
what pissed
genius.
off people
He's
even
a
more.
genius.
God, you are.
I think that's what pissed people off even more is that they called for the bell and everyone thought he was
Scott
dead.
Hosey, hashtag heel life.
Heel life. Yes,
As soon as
absolutely.
they called for the match, the Fiend popped right up and like bloody freaking Seth.
Was that a blood capsule or did he really?
Oh,
no,
that's a blood
it
capsule.
was.
Totally a blood capsule.
For those who have had no medical treatment or experience, yeah, blood's not that color. I'm sorry. I don't care if there's a red light on or whatever.
Yeah.
It was,
It was very bright.
yeah. Now, with that being said, Seth is still the Universal Champion.
Which I think is smart because I already said what kind of a champion would the Fiend be.
Right.
I'm glad the Fiend doesn't have a belt.
What I found interesting was the next night on Raw. I was truly excited. I got everything.
No Fiend or no Rollins.
Last part of the third hour,
Mhm.
they skipped over here.
Huh?
They talked about Becky. They talked about Bailey. Everything,
But-
they
but-
stayed completely away from that.
But no Firefly Funhouse, no pre-taped vignettes, no backstage interview with
Sally
Seth-
Wowie,
with,
guys.
with Seth and Chuck. You know, it was nothing. They
No.
were persona non grata. It was just
The
done.
Fiend didn't come out until the dark match.
Yeah, and
Sure.
when he jumped Cesaro.
Yeah, it was Cesaro and it was like the worst main event dark match I've ever heard of in my life.
and
Well, apparently they started with a dark match.
yeah.
Oh, they
too.
did.
It was supposed to be like Rusev came out, and then like when all of a sudden the Raw theme music hits, and Rusev's already in the ring. And like Corbin and Randy are already out there and everything. So it's
Speaking of random storylines, what about that Bobby Lashley and Lana thing?
trying not to talk.
That
about
is awful.
Well, they're trying to go back to the Attitude Era. You had we'll call it the Matt Hardy and the Lita situation. You had, husband and wives back and forth. They're going back to the Attitude Era, but please, most wrestling fans remember those storylines, and this is just a rehash storyline.
Yeah.
And it's
Well, everything in wrestling eventually comes back around.
exactly,
Again, you know?
exactly.
Just don't do it
It's-
every like 2 or 3 years.
They'll end up getting married soon and having a hand as a baby, but we'll continue with that. Now, when we transitioned into Raw, and I watched the whole show live for the first time in a long time, except for when one person actually in my household paused it and erased half the match. But what I did notice was the AEW T-shirts that were in the crowd at the beginning of the show,
Yes.
and I noticed them, and then usually they take away signs and change. They offer the fan a T-shirt. It's happened to Matt's friends before. People around me. Here's a Rock T-shirt or a Bailey T-shirt or something.
I'm gonna actually try. Maybe I should wear one of my like AEW shirts to
To SmackDown.
SmackDown on Friday.
Yeah.
You got to be like in the front row
Yeah.
for them to honestly.
You got to be on the hard. Obviously the hard.
Yeah,
camera.
okay.
But they let the T-shirt stay for the show, and I think they changed out one, or that person left, but. The one in the upper right or left-hand corner of the screen stayed for the entire show, and that usually never happened. To me, I still think there's something in cahoots, especially if they're leaving the T-shirts in there now, because now they're acknowledging and starting a controversy.
Well, you know what? You know who was in the crowd, both at AEW Dynamite's premiere?
I miss you, Aaron.
Guess who was in the crowd at AEW Dynamite's premiere and at Hell in a Cell?
Who's that?
That goof who always sits front and center hard camera
Yes.
with the green.
Green-
That guy
the green
needs a-
T-shirt.
That
the
guy
Brock
needs.
Lesnar guy.
No, not Brock Lesnar guy. The guy who looks like James Ellsworth's dad. You know,
Oh.
with that crappy goatee beard. Like
Oh, yeah.
always wears the same shitty beige hat and a freaking lime green T-shirt. with
But give him
smile
credit,
on it.
he's got money.
I don't know what he does. I think
Isn't
he,
one of those guys that
Maybe he
pays
is
to be
James
in the
Ellsworth's
crowd
dad.
all the time?
It's like the back. Well, you guys might be too young to remember the Happy Face guy.
I remember having.
I remember him, yeah.
Okay.
And me being an ECW guy, I remember Sign Guy.
Sign Guy.
And Tie-Dye guy. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I mean, like, you know, we had these super fans, but it's funny because, like, so that guy was at Dynamite and at 2 WWE events this week, but Kevin Smith was at Dynamite. He had an invite to SmackDown and came out and said his invite to SmackDown was received.
Oh, interesting.
I
So,
wonder who his alliance is with now.
well, I mean, you know, yeah, because he did that segment on Dynamite. He was supposed to be at the SmackDown premiere too, and Kevin Smith flat out said he's like, yeah, they revoked my ticket and told me not to show up.
Wow.
Very interesting. But how about the going around on Instagram and Facebook, the social media post of nice photo of Chris, AEW champion, Jericho, and
The champion.
the champion, with some bubbly, and Elias.
Coincidence?
Well, they are both musicians. Maybe they were having a jam session.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
I could see Frankie Kazarian playing bass on that too.
Well, we're all waiting for this upcoming week of SmackDown and the draft. But let's talk some little kind of heartache things that have happened in WWE, and that is Jeff Hardy. Unfortunate situation. For those who do not know, Jeff Hardy was arrested once again for driving under the influence. Do not encourage anybody to ever do that. Honestly, everybody's like, I'll be fine. 90% of the time, it's the other person that you hit and kill or injure. So don't ever do that. Don't condone it. But Matt Hardy's been asked many, many questions, and he put out a very nice tweet.
It's very heartfelt.
Yes, that he loves his brother, but his brother is his own demon in a sense, and needs to help himself. Vince has been for years helping. I mean, look at how many times Sonny has been through rehab. So Vince, Jeff, reach out for help. There's help there, so don't say there is not help there.
Well, I heard there might be more to that story because I read just this morning that Jeff actually hadn't been drinking a whole lot. His wife even said he only had 2 shots of vodka before he got
Was there something else involved?
There was a domestic violence incident. Jeff got into it with his old lady, and that's why his face was bloody.
They said he was bloody from getting into a fight with his wife.
Yeah, and
Was it a 9-iron like Tiger Woods?
I have no clue, but as of this,
And I apologize. I don't condone any of that.
as of this point, Jeff has been released. I don't know exactly what he was charged with at this point, but I know that he is not pressing charges against his wife. He's
Well,
not-
I hope they seek counseling.
Yes.
And go about it. I've dealt with the Hardys for a number of years. Matt and I and his lovely wife Rebby, good friends of mine, and love them to death. They're expecting their 3rd child.
Oh,
and
King Maxwell's going to have a whole retinue.
yeah, you can have not only a tag team, 6 men, be like the Von Erichs all over again. But Jeff, seek out some help, and realistically, do yourself a favor and your family and everyone around you. You're a great talent. I'm sure 99% of us would love to see the Hardys back for one more run.
Hell yeah.
I still like the delete and the laugh.
I love the whole broken Woken
The
character.
broken, and I think that was what they were going for. Unfortunately, he's got some demons he needs to fix. And with that being said,
They're
God
not
bless
getting
you,
any
Jeff.
younger, which sucks.
The injuries for Jeff. And to be honest with you, Matt has sat. God rest his soul. Another friend of mine, Steve Dr. Death Williams. Matt and myself had breakfast with him, and just the wear and tear of the body that the wrestlers, both indie and WWE and major talents, go through. And when he said that in the center of his dining room table was a bowl of what would look like M&Ms to everyone else, but it was basically painkillers, and he would take them by the handful. That and alcohol obviously doesn't mix. Hopefully, Jeff has, well, both have, but Jeff has had a number of motorcycle accidents in ring. Seek some help, Jeff. That's all we can say.
I can relate to that. One thing I don't think you guys know about me is I am 7 years sober.
Congratulations.
Off of a
Well,
painkiller
in a
addiction.
sense, yeah.
But I still drink, obviously.
But still.
But I had a painkiller addiction, and I know how hard that is to escape. And I remember when a few years ago, before Kurt Angle re-signed with WWE, when he was on his way out of Impact, he was really doing a lot to promote addiction awareness, the whole Angle Strong movement. And I had a couple back and forths with Kurt Angle on Twitter about what I went through. It's good to see somebody that I've always admired and looked up to, because I've always been a fan.
Absolutely.
They said he was taking like 50 or 60
Yeah,
a day, something like
and
that.
you know that's way beyond what I was taking.
Great.
But to see him go through that, you know, I look at my role models in wrestling as people who have personally experienced things that I've gone through or have gone through, like Kurt Angle with the painkiller addictions. I've had a pretty good back and forth on Twitter with Mauro Ranallo for the last couple of years because of his mental, you know, demons. And I deal with a lot of those same diagnoses that he has as well. And me being a color commentator, him being a commentator in the world of sports, I mean, this guy is like literally the career path I myself want to go on to. So, you know, I look at Mauro as like a personal, like as long as he's doing good, it tells me I can make it someday, you know?
Matt, what's your opinion? I mean, have you seen The Last of Jeff? Or?
No, I think he'll go get some help and he'll be better.
The thing is, these people need to realize that they inspire me. You know,
There's today's superheroes.
Yeah, we're not just fans. Some people want to do this, and me as a fan, when I see somebody I admire, or somebody you know I care about, take a fall or take a few steps, I want to be there to support them too, even though they don't even know me from anybody. But you know these superstars, you got to realize that they inspire many people.
They're like invested in it.
Yeah, well, you know,
It's like you want to see him do like good professionally and like personally.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I know Sasha Nishida for many years.
I'll get over it.
Okay, let's jump out of WWE because we've only got about 15 minutes left. AEW had their premiere. They're obviously having their second show tonight. We've talked about their production problems that they had. Spoil something for us. What does AEW have for the fans tonight? What do you think this week they had between shows would have them prove? Matt?
I think that they came up with the inner circle for their
What?
group for Jericho.
We
They
need
already got
t-shirts.
t-shirts on sale, shockingly.
But once again, promotion.
Yeah.
Sell those t-shirts.
But Jericho he's already got like this group. He's gonna put Sammy, LAX, and everybody else on the map because like all the big wrestling people, like the big wrestling marks knew who they were, but now everybody's gonna know who they are.
And
Passing
just
the
because
torch.
of Chris Jericho.
And you need a credible force to rival the star power of the Elite, because if you look at AEW, the biggest star power they have outside of Chris Jericho himself are the Elite. And they're all buddies. They're not going to be fighting with each other. They're not going to be, you know.
It goes back to stable wrestling. You had the Horsemen. You
Yeah.
had the Von Erichs. You had the Andersons. It's been there forever.
And you've got other little mini stables cropping up all over AEW too. You got the 3 guys in SCU, the 3 guys in Jurassic Express. You know,
Marcos,
I love Margot Stunt.
angry attack child.
Right.
It's
That's
Paul
the
Rudd.
funniest
Did
tweet
you
I
see
ever
the
seen.
dark? Did you see the dark? You can see AEW.
Not
Dark.
yet.
They redid the SCU versus Jurassic Express match, but Marco Stunt was like the MVP of that match.
Thomas just sent another thing in about, we were talking about Jeff. We'll step back for a second. About the Usos having their own problems.
Yeah, the Usos too, yeah.
And Vince has been trying to help, and there's a solution to that. One of our local guys here, in a
If
sense.
they ever get into enough trouble, Sepho Fatu can just jump right in. No one would ever know, ever.
Absolutely.
Right?
But, you know, we
We call him the problem.
Problem solved.
Problem solved.
Yeah, problem solved. The factions, okay?
Yeah, I love factions.
It helps the feuds. You can have the one-on-one matches, 2-on-2, handicap matches, and then bringing in a manager. AEW, I noticed no managers around.
Well, I mean, Penelope Ford does come out with Joey Janela. They've been tied to each other since the end.
But I think they're missing that because a manager's role is when talent either can't talk Brock Lesnar, and it helps the character. The only manager, in my opinion, that wrestling never needed a manager to help in the voiceover was Nick Bockwinkel, who by far is probably my champion in a sense,
Well-
on a map and with a microphone.
Well, so let's put
So
You can just calmly
managers,
talk and
so
get everything you
the
want to
character
get.
build-up, I think, is what's hurting the locals and AEW. Jericho took the mic the entire night tonight
okay.
during the whole faction. You haven't seen it, I have. He had the mic the entire time. You know, Jack Swagger, Hager, whatever he wants to call his name, stone cold look in the camera the entire time.
He's never been a talker.
He's never been a talker. But you need that, and that's what Jericho's going to be. But I think a few of those talents in AEW really need a mic.
I can see Sammy Guevara becoming a good talker.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's got a cocky swagger that makes you just want to smack
But
him
it's not
backstage.
justified.
I think going to the learning tree of Jericho.
Absolutely.
That's what a lot of them need to do is they said they ain't scripting any promos, so all these young guys, it's going to be kind of interesting to see what they do.
I will say one thing though, because apparently in the power of social media, Cody Rhodes is definitely on the pulse of that.
Oh, true.
And he's got that gif of him turning around and listening. And,
Yeah, and we'll talk about that
we will.
right at the end.
But I tell you what, I knew a really good wrestling manager who could get anything wrong.
I know my dad was-
He's sitting right here at this table.
Oh.
The Broad Street Bully. Sign me for E AEW.
Aaron, the job is yours.
Ah!
I'm out of here. Anyway, my opinion, they
Hashtag
had,
sign Johnny Rock.
exactly. They had a great manager, Tully Blanchard.
Yeah.
Now is Tully no longer a
Tully is still there. There's
Okay.
pictures of him at the event tonight.
Okay.
Social media, backstage.
Because-
No, I didn't see the whole end of the show, so I don't know if you.
Because I heard him and Sean Spears were going to be a thing for a while.
Absolutely. And you also have Arn Anderson, who created the Horsemen on a whim.
Yes, but Arn also has never been much of a talker.
But when he talked, he listened.
That's true.
So
Gravitas.
absolutely, he deserved the respect. People listen. You know that EF Hutton.
It's kind of hard to call. Everyone called him like he wasn't a talker, but when you're right next to Ric Flair all the time,
And he still got his words in edgewise.
yeah.
Unlike you.
I've been better today.
Yes, you have.
Thank you.
I've only kicked. I don't know. I kicked Matt kicked you. And yeah. Anyway. So with AEW, where do they go from here, real quick? Matt.
I think they're gonna ride out this inner circle thing. Probably hire a couple more.
Pay-per-view coming up with Cody Rhodes, Jericho match. Do they swap the belts or do they keep it on Jericho?
Jericho's keeping it.
Yeah, it's too soon. Too soon for that.
Oh, another spoiler. The Bucks are out.
Yeah. I kind of saw that
shocking.
coming though.
Yes, you did.
I saw. I did, and mainly because of who they put them up against. They're really pushing Private Party very, very hard right now. And all Private Party's a new tag team. They don't, I had not heard of them at all before they made their debut at it was Fyter Fest, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't Double or Nothing. They made their debut at Fyter Fest. I had never heard of either of these guys. I mean, they were in the Casino Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I had never heard of either of these guys, and I'm pretty attuned to the indie scene.
Really? No.
You know,
It's my heel gimmick. Okay.
and it's like all of a sudden these guys show up and they're winning matches. They're winning matches over established indie talent names like Jack Evans,
And Helico.
and Angelico, which what are they called now? The Hybrid 2? I like that.
And Thomas, thanks for throwing a question in. Paul Ellering under contract. We're talking managers. Another great manager,
Yeah,
the Road
yeah.
Warriors. Forgot that. The AOP, blah blah blah.
Here's the problem
They
with
really-
Paul. Here's the problem with Ellering though, and the whole reason they didn't keep him on board with AOP when AOP went to Raw. Paul Ellering's not down for the travel.
No.
So-
So for those who forgot, during the end of the Road Warriors, that's why Sonny came in.
Yeah.
And because Paul wanted to stay up in Alaska running his little doggies, and to me it was a waste of time
Yeah,
because he was a great wrestling mind, and somehow they should. There's a lot of wrestlers who don't like to travel. Anywhere. Jeff Hardy's one of them, to be honest with you.
Yeah, he doesn't
Yeah.
like flying.
Yeah.
Jim Cornette on his podcast was saying he hates traveling too.
Absolutely. We've got about a little less than 6 or 7 minutes left. I'm going to go for the cheap pop and let Matt do this. But Impact
Hey.
Wrestling, Tessa Blanchard, what do we got here?
She wrestled.
Saturday,
Russell.
November 2nd, here at Power Play Sports at the Boulevard Mall. Probably right at this table. It's probably going to be on the other side of the store, but Tully Blanchard from AEW and Tessa Blanchard will be at the store November 2nd from noon to 2 p.m.
Show that flyer. Let's put that flyer in front of the belt.
It's on the website. It's on Facebook. Yeah, put it in front of the belt. To me, father-daughter, probably greatest of all time right now. I don't think there's really...
Wait, better than Rick and Charlotte?
I'll say besides Rick and Charlotte, that's
To be honest with you, I think Tessa's a better wrestler.
Tessa is, yeah, I can go with that.
And
You know-
before all the surgery,
That's a match I want to see. That's a match.
Everybody wants to see
Everyone
Tessa
wants-
versus Charlotte.
That's a match. Everyone
let's talk a little bit about local talent. Chris Bay, Twitter, Cody Rhodes, AEW, Matt Phillison.
Chris Bay pretty much shot his shot at AEW, and he posted a picture with Cody Rhodes. Said, "Oh, I'm at a business meeting. Just kidding. You don't even know who I am." Cody Rhodes actually responded with this little gif of hearing him, so it might have actually worked. I could totally see Chris Bay in AEW.
You know that
Especially after that Phoenix Douglas James match at Mecca. I could see a Phoenix versus Chris Bay match
Chris Bay-
on TNT sooner than later.
Chris Bay may be our champion here in FSW right now here in Las Vegas, but eventually, you know, he's not the biggest guy.
No, he's a
Definitely-
small talent.
Definitely a cruiserweight, but he's definitely the big fish in this little pond we have here right now.
Just lost his Maverick belt.
He did just lose his Maverick belt.
Two.
I don't know.
You might know this guy. He's having some problems with.
Didn't Cross beat him?
Yes.
Oh!
Killer Cross.
Killer
once
Cross,
again.
new Maverick champion.
All right.
Congrats to
Nice.
Kevin.
And yes, I will mark out to Kevin Cross.
So
No, I'm sorry. Oops. Killer Cross. I know. Sorry, Kevin.
so eventually, I mean, like, Chris Bay is just too big of a talent
He is.
to stay buried in our neck of the woods. For
Hard worker, listens, very respectful. One thing that I learned early on in the locker room is you only get respect by earning respect. And you walk around and you shake hands with every, and this is a shot, and I will say it to any indie wrestler out there. When you walk in the locker room, you walk around, you shake everyone's hand, like them not, and say, good afternoon, good evening. Show your respect to the other person that's going to be in that room.
If you don't know, introduce yourself.
Absolutely.
You know,
when
it's
Luth,
soft
though-
handshakes all around.
For those who don't know a little bit of my history with CAC, Nick Bockwinkel and I were great friends, family friends for years, and Nick used to tell me about him being first year in the wrestling business. Luthez walking into the locker room, who was the champion, and still shaking everyone's hand. And when he got to Nick made a comment of, "What, do you want me to piss on your leg?" Everybody in the locker room had no idea. This young kid, Nicholas Bockwinkel, what the hell are you doing? Inside joke, Luthez used to babysit little Nicky because Warren, his dad, and Lou traveled together. And you know, one time, unfortunately, Nick had a little accident, and it was an inside joke between Lou and him for years. Freaked out the entire locker room, but needless to say, him and Nick just laughed and went on their way. But shake hands, respect the other person in the ring. If you don't do it, you ain't gonna get anything. in this
It's
business.
built on. It's an industry built on respect.
Absolutely.
You don't have to like them, but you do got to respect them,
And protect them.
and protect them.
You're putting your body on the line.
But I
with
tell
that
you what,
person.
I've been backstage at many a local show back here. Been backstage at a few shows in California. I have never met anybody who had a bad word to say about Chris Bay.
Not
I haven't either.
And
A lot of them say he's the future of this industry. A lot of them say he's going places, and
Absolutely.
we're not going to have him for long.
And,
Let's
you know-
enjoy Chris Bay here in Las Vegas while we can. 'Cause
absolutely.
by this time next year, he'll be somewhere else.
Absolutely, and Kevin Killer Cross
Yeah.
even spoke very highly of
Oh,
Chris.
yeah.
Passed the torch to him to being the Las Vegas legend in a sense
Mhm.
during their match at FSW, and so it's definitely in the future, and it's in the cards for Chris. And good job on reaching
Yeah.
out to Cody.
And thank you for representing the city very well too.
Absolutely.
I can't think of a better FSW champion right now, and so it puts eyes on us. It makes us look good.
Yeah.
Well, we're down to a few minutes. We might run a few minutes over, and we apologize for our listeners out there. But with that being said, quickly, we have NWA coming on board again.
Yes.
Absolutely. Maybe
Billy
we'll get
Corgan's
a chance to
making it
talk
work.
about that next week. I won't be here, but feel free. We never even talked about Tyson Fury.
Do we need to?
I don't think so either. But we'll see how far that Big Show and
It was
no,
trash.
never mind. It wasn't Big Show. It was Braun Strowman.
It's trash angle. And
Absolutely.
It belongs on the trash can.
So let's
Those punches he was throwing, those were awful.
beyond awful. Matt, let's sign off. And anything social media or of current events that you want to talk about from this week?
Main thing I really saw was the whole Chris Bay thing.
Okay. And it worked and got Cody's attention.
You know,
How about you, John?
Something I wanted to talk about last week that never really it was our pop culture topic,
Sure.
but because of being the 1 year anniversary, you know, or the 2 year anniversary of October 1st, we didn't really get a chance to touch on it because things were a little heavy.
Yeah.
I'm so happy the Spider-Man's coming back to the MCU.
The MCU, yeah.
I just bought Far From Home on Blu-ray.
Oh,
And I
nice.
watched it last night, and I was just like, man, this movie was so good. Like, I'm so glad it's not the end for Tom Holland as Peter Parker.
And he had a lot to do with that, I think.
Yes, he did. And, you know, and the fact that it's also bringing into another, like, because of this new deal between Sony and Marvel, they also want to bring in some of the Netflix characters into the mainstream movie universe, which I'm very happy they've tagged.
I'm so excited for
John
that.
Bernthal's Punisher has been thrown around, Charlie Cox's Daredevil, and Wilson Fisk, Vincent D'Onofrio. Those are like the big three they want to transition from the Netflix series into.
I'm totally down for that.
Yeah.
You guys have covered the topics for the current events. Let's sign off. Let's give them a big love kiss and welcome. And
So-
thank you for listening. And share us on all your social media links. Johnny, you start. We'll let Matt finish his time.
On our social media links?
No, let's
Oh.
basically say goodbye to the folks.
Well-
they spent an hour of their week.
I don't know. WWE doesn't want to send the fans home happy. Why do I got to send the fans home happy?
Okay, you're taking my heel gimmick. Matt, let's go.
I hope you all have a good week. I might try to post live from SmackDown.
We will.
We'll see if we can pull that one off. Check out our audio, social media.
We'll have to do it from outside the arena because I tried doing it when SmackDown. I tried taking little film snippets, and I had a big burly security man tell me to put my phone away that there was no filming allowed in the arena.
I've never been caught. You're not slick at all.
The worst part was I was filming myself. I had the selfie cam on, and it was like,
Why are you filming?
It was funny. I was
yourself?
in the front row. Like, I must have Snapchatted like all of Money in the Bank, and not one person said a word to me.
Well, with that being said, look forward to next week's show here Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Aaron will be back. Johnny, you'll be here. Matt, I will be taking another week off. I'm, in and out. But, as Dana Carvey and those guys at Saturday Night Live used to say, we are out of here. Good night, folks.
Peace.
ah.
Way too